What did he do? That is the number one question that everybody is asking when it comes to Corey Perry and the now fired NHL player from the Chicago Blackhawks. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me is the Toronto Sun's Leafs columnist and NHL columnist, Lance Hornby. So, who better to ask? Lance, what did Corey Perry do?
Well, he did something bad enough to be have his contract terminated, be kicked off the Blackhawks, and unfortunately end what is a very successful career. Apparently, it's hard to see anybody picking him up right now. What happens in the next few days, whether or not he grieves that, is yet to be seen. What did he do? Apparently, at a Chicago Blackhawks team function before the team played in Columbus the other day, there was an incident reportedly involving alcohol and misbehavior with or involving a Blackhawks employee or somebody connected with the team. And word got back to the club that whatever happened was bad enough that he had to be placed on irrecallable waivers and is now looking for a new home. What he didn't do, if all the Blackhawk efforts to cover this up is have any sort of improper relationship with the mother of Connor Bedard, their number one draft. That was the big that was a big rumor that was going around, and the Hawks right off the top at their press conference the other day tried to address that and say there was no involvement with a family member.
It just goes to show you how quickly a rumor will spread on the internet before the facts are actually in. But the challenge with this story, Lance, is that the Chicago Blackhawks come on this issue, this whatever scandal is going on here, on the heels of yet another one with allegations of sexual abuse from their former video coach, and that the Blackhawks did not handle that well. They are being sued. And now another unknown player, John Doe player, has come forward suing the Blackhawks for alleged sexual assault. So the organization itself is on high alert and quite sensitive to any allegation of inappropriate behavior. It's positive that they acted. But I think what's challenging right now, and this is certainly the case for anything, in the absence of information and facts creates a vacuum. And so that allows for rumors and speculation like the Connor Bedard's mother in an inappropriate relationship. But what I find interesting is not only has the Blackhawks organization, they need a communications director. They need someone that actually knows how to handle a scandal. They should have come out ahead of this instead of this drip, drip, drip. But what does this do in the locker room? Like, what does this do in the organization itself? Because from what I can tell, I check their social media posts. The team just seems to be, head down and moving ahead. What's your perspective on that?
Well, everyone was wondering how they would handle it. And I think they won their first game after that. And Coach Luke Richardson was very happy that with all this floating around them, they were able to concentrate. You're right, Adrienne. It's a huge conundrum because on one hand, people want to believe that the Blackhawks have cleaned up their act. On the other hand, everyone's saying, well, how can you believe the team that ignored the Kyle Beach incident and is still feeling the repercussions of that? So easiest path of the team, just cut all ties with Corey Perry. But of course, the problem now is that because there was no criminality involved, and the Blackhawks came out and said that now there is a 2-month option, 60 days, whatever, for Perry to grieve this. And because there's no criminality, and because it's so rare in NHL circles to have a contract terminated like this, people are wondering if indeed he will grieve it. Now that will require him to talk about how, exactly what happened with this incident at the corporate event. So that's a conundrum for Corey Perry, I guess. If he wants to clear his name, he's going to have to swim through some dirty water as well.
It's interesting. He's remained generally silent. I know that normally they go through their NHL Players Association. They have reps and whatnot. But Perry has himself been quiet. And the challenge with that, of course, Lance, is that he potentially doesn't want to ruin any opportunity he has to grieve, because he's still got a year left on his contract, right? I think it's worth $4 million. There's a lot of money left on the table, so to speak. So maybe he doesn't want to put any of that in jeopardy. But on the other hand, he has had a storied career. He's had a very successful NHL career, and he still on his the social profiles. His family guy. He's got a beautiful wife and kids and all that stuff. So, what's the rationale in him staying silent? Is it just more that let the organization, let the Blackhawks sort of dig themselves out of this? And what do you think's going on there?
Well, certainly, his agent Pat Morris has said he's going to be, taking some time to assess some personal
Right.
issues and all that kind of thing. But I got to think, the Players Association, they're a little bit militant now. They have Marty Walsh in charge now. He's a new, he's their new leader, and I think
Hmm.
he wants to see due process done. And I think he would, he'd be investigating. He'd want to know, certainly. I mean, he's not going to cover up anything terrible that Perry has done, but he wants, in the bigger picture with the NHL, wants to
Hmm.
flex his muscle a bit. So I can see
Yeah.
him, looking into this whole matter and saying, if there isn't any criminality involved, exactly why is he terminated? As to whether Corey will come out and speak, I mean, he's one of the NHL's most colorful players, most successful players. He loves to ham it up and warm up. Certainly here in Toronto, he's a hated man for playing a big role in knocking the Leafs out of the playoffs. So I'm sure he wants to speak, but maybe if there is he did is as bad as the Blackhawks allege, then maybe it's not in his best interest to bring this out and sadly make the a shameful exit after a
Yeah.
wonderful NHL career.
And it could turn out that, what the Blackhawks said in their what was a pretty weak statement initially. Maybe this was just, look, in sports, you get away with a lot. It's a pretty wide berth of what it could be deemed inappropriate behavior. I mean, I'm not besmirching it. It's just a fact.
Well,
And
yes.
maybe nowadays, professional organizations are cognizant that perhaps they shouldn't allow that allowing their players to get away with X, Y, and Z is totally inappropriate and against all normal practices in life, and that just because they're professional hockey players or whatever, professional athletes, that doesn't give them the the green light to behave like an a-hole.
Yeah, agreed. Well, the other thing too is that just getting back to the thing about whether or not it'll be grieved. There isn't, the players who've been caught in this situation before have got their money and have got out of it. I mean, there was no they haven't been punished to the full letter of the law. So it'll be interesting to see again the key statement for the Blackhawks: no criminality, and if it's if just a case of bad behavior, then I think maybe we haven't seen the last of Corey Perry. Keep in mind, though, at 38 years old, he didn't have much time left, and they did bring him in, sort of ironically enough, to be a mentor for Bedard. Right. To protect him and bring him along. So that's that is the craziness of this whole situation.
My last question to you, Lance, is simply this: what puts an end to this? Because right now, this story, like, it's on the front page of our newspaper. It's front page material all over North America. Anywhere there's a hockey town, everybody is reading this story. It remains the number one story on our website that people are interested in. You can go and you can type in Google, Lance, what did Corey Perry do? It's the first thing that pops up. But what is going to bring this to a closure, do you think?
Yeah, I'm as amazed as you are about how much life this has after the talks came out and said it had nothing to do with the family member. But I mean, it's I mean, you got all the elements there. You have the number one pick in Bedard. You have the Blackhawks, a storied franchise. You have the whole nature of the of what supposedly happened. So really, get back to your first point. Unless Corey Perry holds a press conference and says, okay, it had nothing to do with the Bedard family, and yes, I acted up and I apologize and move on. I think that's the only way it gets done. Otherwise, you think in the news cycle as things move on to another story. But this one may linger until Perry personally addresses it, or through his agent, or the NHLPA says they're going to grieve the contract.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments below, and go to theTorontoSun.com and hit that subscribe button. You're going to find more coverage on stories like this and others you will not find anywhere else.